UFP, the United Federation of Podcasts.
Welcome to Franchise Fatigue. I'm your host, Brandon-Shea, and joining me, as always, is my extra lovable, cuddly, strawberry-smelling host, Lotso Zacho Moore.
Hey, Brandon, I was pleased to see you did not replace me, and that I still have a place in your toy collection.
Yes, well, I was debating whether or not to throw you in the attic, and then, my wife just accidentally put you on the curb, so...
Yeah, I woke up. I know
we
had that picnic the other day, and I fell asleep, and I woke up, and you were gone. I was really worried. But I'm glad I found my way back home.
I'm glad you still have the necklace on that says, "My heart belongs to Brandon." Well, just in case you guys can't figure it out and don't know what's going on, we're talking Toy Story 3 tonight, and we've got a very special guest, my good friend, Brad Thomas. How are you doing, Brad?
Doing great. Thanks for having me today.
We are thrilled to have you on. Now, Brad, we've been wanting to get you on a podcast for a little while, and we thought this would be a great place to have you start because you and your family are really big into Disney. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you guys do? Tell us about your YouTube channel and what's going on there.
Yeah, so my wife in particular has always been big into Disney stuff. I've obviously grew up around the movies and traveling to theme parks and things of that nature. My wife always, it was her dream to go to Disneyland. But she had never gotten to go. So one day I took her, we went to Disney World, and she fell in love with the place and thought, man, I wonder if we could make a career, or if I could make a career out of this. And so she started looking into what it would mean to be kind of a Disney travel agent, and slowly, got her travel agency just... I don't know, the papers or whatever it is, her Tika or whatever it was she was supposed to get. And that just ballooned from her love for Disney. And so we started to kind of promote her business and everything she was doing. We started a YouTube channel that would just give away information on what it looks like to travel to the Disney parks, to go on a Disney cruise, to do anything that is travel related Disney-wise, and even doing some stuff on the movies. And yeah, from there, she's just kind of built a little community of people that love Disney and love Disney travel. And so, yeah, we love all things Disney, and we love Pixar.
Mm-hmm. And then you and I, we did a video when Solo came out. We did a hot take review right immediately after it was midnight showing, I think we went, or 10 o'clock showing or something. And then we came to your place and did a review for the YouTube channel, and I made the hot take that it was going to make a whole bunch of money because it's Star Wars and it was a good movie, and it didn't quite live up to my predictions.
No, the movie was fine, but it was not received as well by the general audience or whatnot, and it was also like 4 a.m. I don't know how we made it through that hour and a half of talking about it, but there it was.
Yeah, and I liked Solo. I thought it was good, so
yeah,
I still do.
So Brad, I'm a big Disney fan myself, and I enjoy going to the parks. What's your favorite Disney park of them all?
So I mean, I've only traveled to the North American parks. I've yet to go to Disney Sea. Everyone tells me in Japan that's the one to go to. But as far as North American, I again love everything that's happening in Florida. Love Animal Kingdom. Love Magic Kingdom. Love Epcot. Love Hollywood Studios. But I still think I am a little bit of a classic guy. I like just Disneyland the park. It's my favorite. How about you?
I'm the same way. I like Disneyland, the original. It's hard to beat it, And if for no other reason, my favorite ride was 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Back when I was a kid, I went there with my parents, and it was still Submarine Voyage, over at Disneyland, the original.
Yes.
And that was my favorite ride. I loved that movie when I was a kid, the Disney 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And I was very disappointed to learn that it had been closed. And both parks, they closed the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea in Disney World. They paved it over. To, it's a race from existence over there. Submarine Voyage, They put on hold for a while. They were going to make it an Atlantis ride. back when that Atlantis The Lost
Yeah.
Empire movie came out. Wasn't a hit, so they put the brakes on that. And then there was a lot of talk they were going to shut it down forever, but they brought it back as a Finding Nemo ride, which is, it's a little different, obviously, but I still enjoy that. I love the whole immersion factor of that ride and how you're like really underwater and that kind of thing. So for no other reason, that's the only park left that has 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea or a submarine voyage. But so much of that, Matterhorn is the only place you can get that. So I'm right there with you. I love the original Disneyland more than the rest as well.
If you love 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, where you can still find glimpses of it, hints of it, go to Disneyland Paris. They've still got a lot of stuff there.
Yeah, because of their it's not Tomorrowland over there. It's not Fantasyland. It's called something different there.
I can't totally remember the name, but everything from their Space Mountain to everything that's going on there is kind of themed around that author whose name escapes me right
Jules
now.
Verne. Yeah, they kind of
exactly, Jules Verne. Yeah,
they learned from their mistake from Tomorrowland. That's the problem with Tomorrowland, right? It's always like tomorrow always comes, and it's always yesterday. So they kind of had this like Jules Verne Victorian era future over there. So yeah, definitely want to check out there. And then also I heard the one in Japan has a great 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea ride. It's not underwater or anything.
Yes.
I heard it's at least that ride in a different form. So anyway, I love Disney parks too. So I just want to get some of that in there. So
So is this like a steampunk Disney?
Very much. Both Disney Sea and then the Tomorrowland, whatever you call it, in Disneyland Paris or both of them are kind of steampunk-esque.
Well, geez, that totally backfired because I was making a joke, and then you're like, yeah, it totally is.
No, like, as far as the aesthetic, yes, there's a lot of that in both.
Awesome, excellent. So before we go on here, Brad, I want to ask you, what's your favorite animated Disney film?
That's hard, and if you asked me tomorrow, you'd get a different answer, but I'm going to go with Pinocchio as my all-time classic.
Really? Excellent.
Now that's a scary ride, by the way. That's the one at Disneyland.
And it's a trippy movie too.
Yeah.
But it's just there are moments in it like the original art, hand drawn, when it's going in on Geppetto's house and with the sky. It's just beautiful. There's nothing like it.
Yeah, those donkey ears freaked me out when I was a kid when they started turning into donkeys. Woo-wee. It was a hard one to get through. Anyways, awesome, right on. Well, now that we've had a little bit of fun little banter, Zach Moore, tell me you dug up some trivia on the film Toy Story 3.
I did, Brandon. I put it in the trash bag, and I'm ready to rip it open and discuss it. Trivia for Toy Story 3. Now, Toy Story 3 was the first Pixar film to be released in IMAX, which I thought was interesting. It was also the highest-grossing movie of 2010. And the first animated movie to make $1 billion at the worldwide box office. So, brand recognition, right? It's the third film in the franchise, highly anticipated. Came out 10 years after Toy Story 2. It became the third highest grossing animated movie of all time. And it's also the third animated film to be nominated for Best Picture. The first two being Beauty and the Beast and Up. So, good company there. And originally, a sequel was planned for Toy Story 2, a follow-up, when it looked like Disney and Pixar were going to split in the mid-2000s over creative differences. Disney started up a animation division called Circle 7, which would have been in charge of creating the Pixar films, and would not involve any of the creators of Pixar. So Entertainment Weekly actually published an article about this, and the original plot for Toy Story 3 was going to be about Buzz Lightyear having a defect, and they would have shipped him off to Taiwan to be fixed. But the other toys find out that the toy company there is just replacing the broken Buzz Lightyears with new toys and not repairing them. So they ship themselves to Taiwan to rescue him. So I thought that was kind of file that one away for perhaps a future Toy Story movie. I think there could be some fun there. But when Disney and Pixar made amends, part of their agreement was not to further develop any of the projects they had planned during that kind of break period. So that's why they kind of shelved that for Toy Story 3. Although, again, I think there's a kernel of a good idea there that could be fun. Now, the Toy Story 3 we did get was loosely based off the original treatment for Toy Story, which had Tin Toy from 1988 getting lost. It's the short film we talked about before, Brandon. He gets lost at a rest stop. He's found by a junk man, throws him in the back of his car. He meets a ventriloquist dummy. They decide to stick together, but they end up at a preschool where they'll never get lost or outgrown. And that was kind of the story of that. And that was the kernel of the idea for the Toy Story 3 we got. Now, during early development stages of the film, they wanted to, of course, build off the models they had made for the previous characters, but that was, 1995, right? And they found they couldn't edit any of the old 3D models because the technology had advanced so far, the rendered files were incompatible with their new software, so everything had to be recreated from scratch, which is an interesting evolution, watching these movies in succession the way we have been. You can really tell where they come a long way from 1995 to now. And Lee Unkrich, who edited the previous 2 films and co-directed Toy Story 2 with John Lasseter, took over director's duties here because John Lasseter chose to direct Cars 2 instead. I don't know if I was John Lasseter, maybe just want to try something different. Cars 2 is not a choice to me, but hey, whatever floats your boat, man. But Lee Unkrich.
I just found out there's a Cars 3.
There's also a Planes as well, so it just never ends, right? So Lee Unkrich being the director here, he and the animation team agreed to shave their heads before working on this film, kind of like as a bonding team building thing. They all shaved their heads before working on it. So now, some of the returning cast for the human characters, right? John Morris, who voiced the young Andy in Toy Story 1 and 2, he returns to voice Andy in Toy Story 3. No one at Pixar had talked to him since he was a child, so they weren't sure if his voice would still be suitable for voice acting. They called him and got his answering machine the first time, and just from hearing his voice on the machine, they knew that he was still right for Andy. And
wow.
Charlie Bright voices the younger Andy, and I couldn't find any trivia to this point, but I'm pretty convinced they used some stock audio from previous 2 films for young Andy, perhaps when he was playing around, like it's like whoopee or something like that. It sounded just like it did in the original 2 Toy Stories. But anyway, and he also Charlie Bright also voiced one of the peas in a pod at Bonnie's house, so he had a couple of roles in the film as well. Now, speaking of Andy, we find out that his name is Davis. Andy Davis. It's the first time we have a last name for this family of characters. We find that on a certificate on his bulletin board there as we're going through his room. And speaking of human characters and actors to return, Eric Von Detten returned to voice Sid, who was the garbage guy in this movie. As we talked, you mentioned it in our last podcast, actually. I wouldn't have made that connection, because, yes, he's wearing the same skull shirt, but, that's a common shirt. The Punisher wears that shirt. Who knows? I wouldn't have necessarily thought that was Sid, but it is funny that this bully turned into a garbage guy, so it's, appropriate, I guess.
I did not realize that it was the same voice actor that did that too.
Yeah, good.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, good for them for getting. I really appreciate the continuity here. It's an animated movie, right? So they could have gotten anybody, but the fact they went and they got these guys back from all those years earlier really shows a good dedication. Now, there is unfortunately some characters that didn't make this movie. Bo Peep, for example. They mentioned her. They mentioned Squeaky, right? Or Wheezy. Excuse me. The Penguin. They mention him off when they're doing the roll call. It's like, hey, where is everybody? This is everybody, Woody. And it's kind of sad because these are the characters we've seen in the first couple of movies. But although she made a brief cameo appearance at the beginning of the film, Bo Peep is not in the main film. And part of that was determined that she would not have survived the incinerator scene because she's made of porcelain. So there was actually a logical story reason for them to say, okay, let's just say that she moved on another way. We don't want to see her get melted or anything like that. And we have some new characters, though. Trixie, the Triceratops dinosaur. Lee Unkrich did say that she is from the same line of dinosaurs as Rex. And you can tell, too, because you see other dinosaur toys, but they really definitely look like they fit together. That's a nice ending there. Because, at the end of Toy Story 1, Rex was excited about, getting another dinosaur toy. And, hey, ended up with another dinosaur toy at the end of this one. Slinky Dog does return, but unfortunately Jim Varney, he died of lung cancer after Toy Story 2. So his fellow comedian friend Blake Clark became the new voice of Slinky Dog, and they were friends before Jim Varney's death, so it's cool to kind of pass it off to a fellow friend that way to voice him. And I really couldn't tell the difference. I don't know if you guys could. He sounded exactly the same to me. I think he did a great job.
No, I did not know that at all. That is crazy that is a different voice. So,
yeah, I knew he'd passed away between the two films, but I could never tell the difference.
Now, Lotso, the strawberry-smelling bear,